Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Dick Durbin, United States Senator.
Thank you so much. It is indeed an honor to be here at this historic meeting. I want to thank Undersecretary Petzel, Assistant Secretary Garcia for joining us on this historic day. And I'd also like to acknowledge, as others have, the amazing work of Pat Sullivan from the North Chicago Veterans Administration and Captain Thomas McGew from the Great Lakes Clinic. They've had the difficult task of running large medical centers while figuring out how to implement something that has never been done in the United States of America until today. This is kind of like changing a tire in your car while you're driving. And these two gentlemen, with a lot of help from a lot of people, have made it work. They've done a remarkable job. Captain McGew, good luck as you transfer to Rhode Island. You leave a proud legacy here in Illinois. Captain Beardsley, we're confident that you will continue Captain McGew's fine record of service at the Great Lakes Clinic, now part of the Captain Lovell Federal Health Care Center. It was about 59 years ago. I was in the first grade, and my two brothers enlisted in the United States Navy to serve in Korea. My brother Bob took off for San Diego, and I can remember going with my mom and dad to put my brother Bill on the train to come up to Great Lakes for his boot camp in the United States Navy. I was a little kid then and followed every letter that they were sending home to mom and dad on a regular basis. Little did I know when I first heard about Great Lakes Naval Training Center that someday I would be standing here today talking about the future of that great facility and this great Veterans Hospital. Every year, thousands of young men and women come to Illinois for boot camp at the Naval Station Great Lakes. Getting through boot camp is indeed a difficult task, which requires a lot of hard work and commitment. But in the end, it's worth it, and they're all the better for it. The story about how we came together today is an equally challenging story. It started about 15 years ago. The Naval Clinic, Great Lakes, and North Chicago VA Medical Center started on their own separate journeys. Surgical services were moved from the North Chicago Veterans Hospital to Hines in 1992. Renovations completed in 1996, but as the VA moved toward more outpatient services, the facility here, the Veterans Facility, was left with too many unfilled beds. By 1998, reports recommended closing the North Chicago VA-MC started appearing. And the Great Lakes Naval Hospital had its own challenges. The 1995 BRAC process resulted in Navy boot camp being consolidated at Great Lakes, increasing the active duty demands. At the same time, the facilities were in desperate need of repair. That is how things stood when we first took a look at this possibility. I asked my staffer, Sally Brown Shackley, what was the first evidence you have of any of us suggesting bringing these two together? And she found a letter from November of 1999. Now, 11 years isn't bad for government work. And 11 years later, we come together with the merger of these two great facilities. It just made sense to me, to the senators, then Congressman Porter and his successor, Congressman Kirk, as well as Congresswoman Bean, that the Navy and VA working together could provide the care that the patients needed more efficiently through a combined facility. So in 1999, we got together with House and Senate members of both political parties from Illinois and asked the Navy and VA to look into the idea. That's when it all got started. We've worked with the Navy, VA, veterans organizations, labor unions, and other interested parties to nurture this partnership. All of them joined in the effort. All of them made great sacrifice for us to be here today. We all recognize the potential to move the VA and defense health systems forward in a groundbreaking way. Our veterans, service members, and their families deserve the best health care in America, and that's what they're going to receive right here at the Captain James A. Lovell Federal Health Care Center. This is the first of its kind. Congress will be watching this project closely, and the success of this effort, I predict, will inspire other joint facilities across America. I want to thank, finally, the medical professionals and staff who work here. You all make us so proud in the work that you do for our active servicemen in the Navy and those who have served us in the ranks of veterans and their families. I know that the dedicated men and women of the VA and the Navy will continue to work together to ensure our veterans and sailors are well taken care of. And now it's my honor to introduce the man whose name will forever be an integral part of this fine facility. I believe that Congressman Kirk was the first to suggest his name, and it was a great suggestion. Captain James Lovell was one of the first human beings to go into space. Born in Ohio, home to Wilbur and Orville Wright, as well as that great naval aviator John Glenn, Captain Lovell was born in 1928. He was fascinated by flight from a young age. Captain Lovell was always a man of vision. At the United States Naval Academy, he wrote his senior thesis on the feasibility of sending a rocket into space. That was in 1952. 10 years later, NASA selected Jim Lovell, then a test pilot, to be one of the first astronauts. He was on the early Gemini 7 and Gemini 12 missions. In December 1968, he circled the moon as a crew member of the Apollo 8, the first NASA mission to send pictures of the Earth back to our planet. Captain Lovell was the commander of Apollo 13 mission in 1970. He and his fellow astronauts, Fred Heiss, John Swigert, blasted off on what was supposed to be the third attempt at a lunar landing. However, a few days into the flight, a fire broke out in the spacecraft. It was then that Captain Lovell calmly radioed the immortal words, even though Tom Hanks didn't quite get them right in the movie. He radioed the immortal words, "Houston, we've had a problem." The astronauts' lives were in serious danger, and they had to take a huge risk in shooting around the far side of the moon to get back home. With the safe return of Apollo 13, James Lovell was forever emblazoned on the fabric of our nation's history and the record of heroism written by the men and women throughout the history of the United States of America. Captain Lovell remained with NASA until his retirement in 1973. During his 11 years as an astronaut, he spent more than 715 hours and 5 minutes in space. Today, Captain Lovell makes his home in Lake Forest, Illinois, just a few minutes from here. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce a true American hero, Captain James A. Lovell.